Hello everyone, this is Texent. Let's continue this series on Python. Today, we will discuss the topic of if statements. An if statement is a decision-making statement that takes a condition, and this condition should be true in order to execute the following code. Let's start by writing our first if statement. To do that, I'm gonna use the if keyword, and as I told you, the if statement will only work if the condition is true. So let's say I said if true, and followed by a colon, and as you can see there's an indentation over here. That's because the if statement is a block of code. What comes after it is a block of code, so I can write print 1 plus 1, let's say, and print hello. This block of code will only execute if the condition of the if statement evaluates true. In my case it does, so we got 2 and hello. Let's say it evaluated false. So false, nothing will be executed. That's because the condition of my if statement is false. Now let's say I add this print function over here and I said done. We know that the if statement will only work if the condition is true. In my case, it's false. Do you think this print statement or this print function will execute? Let's see. Well, it does. It says done. That's because this print function doesn't belong to the if statement. If I indented this print function by pressing the tab button, it belongs to the if statement and it will not be executed by Python. Right now, let's write a code that will tell us if a number is even or odd. So an even number is when you divide it by 2, its remainder is equal to 0. If not, it's an odd number. Let me declare a variable called x and I'll assign to it number 6. Then let's write our if statement. So I'll say if x, we'll use the modulus sign to find the remainder of a division, divide by 2 equal to 0, and if you don't know what this equal operator is, it tests for equality. So if the division's remainder is equal to 0, it will print whatever comes in this block of code. So I'll say even. So let me run my program, and I should get definitely even. But let's say I assign to x the number 7. Definitely I won't get even. I'll get nothing. That's because this if statement evaluated false. But let's say I want to print that this number is an odd number. How to do that? Well, we use the else statement. So the else statement means otherwise, if the condition above is equal to false or evaluates false, execute the block that comes in the else statement. So else print odd. So let's try right now. I'll get odd. I've declared two variables that store different number. X stores 5 and Y stores 6. I want to compare those two numbers. I'll use the if statement. I'll say if x greater than y, I want to print x greater than y. But let's say x is less than y. So I'll write if x less than y, I'll print x less than y. But let's say those two values are equal. So I'll say if x equal y, I'll print equal. Otherwise, if all the if statements evaluate false, let's use the else statement and print invalid. Now what do you think we will get? Definitely this statement will evaluate true because x is less than y. Let's check, and we got 5 less than 6, but we got also invalid. Why we got invalid? First, what Python did is it checks if this condition is true. Definitely it's false, so it will jump to the next if statement. This statement evaluated true, it will print this. But the problem is that Python will check the other condition, which is definitely false. But the problem is that this condition is useless because we already got our answer. So how to tell Python to not check the next condition? To do that, we need to use the elif statement or else if statement. So how to write it is elif, and I'll say the same to the other one, elif. So what Python will do first, it will check if this condition is true. It is false, so it jumps to the elif statement, check this condition, it is true, it will print x less than y, and stops here, doesn't continue and checks the rest of the code. Last time we got the invalid also. This time we will only get 5 less than 6. Definitely my code wasn't wrong when I had 3 if statement, but why to check for a useless condition if I already got my answer? Plus it will save Python a lot of energy. Next we have nested if statements. Did you know that inside an if statement we could have another if statement? Well, now you know, and let me show you. Let's say first I want to check if x and y are integers. I will use the identity operator to check this out. And of course, if you want to check my operators in Python video, link will be down in the description. It will be very helpful for you. So let's do it. If type of x, I'll use the type function to find its type, is int. Also, I'll use the logical operator AND to check also if the type of y is also an integer. I'll say AND type of y is int. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all of this block of code inside this if statement. By pressing the tab button, Python will automatically indent my code, and this will be a block of code inside this if statement. Let's say this condition evaluated true. Definitely it will, because the type of x is an integer and the type of y is an integer too. And we know that with the AND operator, both expression or condition should evaluate true in order to this full expression to evaluate true. So when this if statement will evaluate true, Python will go over this block of code. But let's say this if statement didn't evaluate true. What to do is we could write the else statement. So else I could say print by, let's say. So what do you think will happen right now? Let's see. I'll change the values. I'll say 7 and 6, okay? So run my program. We got 7 greater than 6. So we know that this if statement evaluated true because the type of x and y are integers. So it came over this block of code. First it checked if this condition is true, definitely is true, and it will print for us this expression, and it won't go anymore to the other statements. So that's why we got 7 greater than 6. Let's say I assign to x a string, so I write anything and y also. What do you think we will get? Definitely we got by. That's because the type of x is not an integer as well as the type of y. So definitely the else statement will be executed. Let's do some more exercises with if statement. Did you know that you can check if an element is in a sequence? And sequences in Python are strings, lists, and tuples. So let's check. I'll first declare a list and assign to it number 1 and 2. Let me check if number 1 is in my list. And if it is, I will print 1 and list. So how to do that? Well, we'll use the if statement. So if 1, and we'll use the membership operator, which is in LST. I'll print, as I told you, 1 in LST. Okay? But let's say 1 is not in my LST. I want to check if 2 is in my LST. To do that, I will use the elif statement. So elif 2 in LST. I'll print 2 in LST. So this elif statement will be executed if the if statement above will evaluate false. But let's say I didn't have 1 and 2 in my list. I'll say else print invalid. I have 1 and 2 in my list. Do you think this expression and this expression will be executed together? Well, let's see. Let me run my program, and we got only 1 in LST. That's because this if statement evaluated true. It will execute this code and will stop here. Let's say I said here 3 or 4. I got 2 in list. That's because this if statement evaluated false. So Python will jump to the elif statement, which will evaluate true, and we will print, or this code will be executed. Let's say I wrote here 6. I'll get invalid. That's because none of the code above the else statement is true. So the else statement, no matter what, will be printed or executed. Alright, this is it for if statements. Make sure to practice them because practice makes perfect. Thanks for watching. This is Accent, and see you in the next one.